Okay, so as we know, the CSU continues to primarily deliver courses in the virtual format, and this is across all the CSUs. And so when moving online courses from face-to-face to online, or just developing new online courses, we want to sometimes first stop to think about the differences, the ongoing time commitments, the technology aspects for you and your students, and the level of social presence as well. So moving a course online has some challenges that you might want to consider, and there are different things that you want to look at, like the course goals, your discussion questions, your assignments, your tests. So in the process of looking at all those things, you might find that there might be some things that you want to adjust and things that you can do differently in the virtual environment. But often a common mistake is that there's the assumption that working in a face-to-face classroom will also work the same in the virtual environment. Now, what I'd like to do before we get started into some of these tips that I'm going to provide you is take a look here at some of the major differences. Now, these aren't all of them. These are just a few that I've put on screen just to get us thinking about the differences, as well as some of the similarities. So virtual learning, learners quit more quickly. Virtual learners require more interaction with instructors and peers, and this might be something that you've already experienced teaching in the virtual environment, or perhaps will experience some of this stuff. But hopefully the tips today will help you kind of minimize some of these things. Virtual instructors must learn how to use several technology tools, and the learning in the virtual environment can lack sometimes feedback for both students and instructors. Virtual learning should be broken into smaller pieces. That way it's not information overload. It's a little bit easier to process. And virtual learning, learners need additional support and resources. What remains the same is that expectations must be clear for learners. Communication must be done regularly. Quality interaction between students is definitely necessary. Instructional design is important. You consider your students as individuals, not just the class as a collective. Planning is essential, and showing students that you care about them will definitely make all the difference. So luckily we have, through the CSU system, the CSU Quality Learning and Teaching COLT evaluation instrument, which is designed and it's designed to help support and identify exemplary practices for both the design of the course as well as the delivery of the course in blended online and flipped courses. So the instrument is composed of 57 items across 10 different sections, including an optional section that has to do with mobile platform readiness. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about and take a look at several examples of how we can make simple adjustments to your virtual course, which will definitely make a huge difference and dramatically improve the virtual course experience for both the students and for you as an instructor. And we're going to be using the objectives that are found in the COLT instrument, which again, it's based on research and application and student feedback. So the first thing that we want to look at here is going to be the course overview and introduction. So the course overview and introduction, if you take a look at your course, take a look at how you set the tone for your students. Is the startup information easy to access? Are the expectations for your students made clear? Do your students have clear direction on how to get started? And do they have the right resources in order to be successful, the resources and support that they're going to need in this virtual environment? Do they know how to navigate and access all the course material? So all these things are extremely important, especially in an online environment, because they are not in the classroom setting, they're not in front of you, so they they can't quickly and easily ask you those questions. How do I navigate? Where can I find the syllabus? And so it's really important and essential that when you're designing the course, you have a course introduction area that's very clear and very simple to access with all these components. So you want to give your students the startup information up front and in the beginning to get them ready and get them prepared to start the core curriculum. So this is really about the introduction and setting the tone. So here you can see this faculty here does a really nice job of creating. If you look on the left-hand navigation panel, right here, they've created a welcome and start here section. So the link, if you can see, is very descriptive. So you want to make sure that when you're creating links on the left-hand navigation, they're simple and descriptive for your students. So welcome, start here is very descriptive, letting the students know that this is where you begin. So rather than coming into the course and not having anybody to help me and I'm clicking all around, this first link here is very descriptive and clear, letting me know that this is where I should be beginning. Now, our Blackboard courses, when you first get it, has a home page. The home page has a couple of modules or pods. And sometimes that can be confusing for students when they first enter your course, when they see that. There's no clear direction. They really don't know what to do with that page. And so just by simply creating a Welcome Start Here content area and just calling it Welcome Start Here is very clear for your students. Here it provides a welcome message, a course description, some expectations. You could see the course outcomes or course objectives are listed here. And then it gives very specific direction to your students on how to proceed beyond this point. So to get started, students will read through the Navigating Your Blackboard course. They will review the section under Expectations, Online Readiness, and Blackboard Overview. And they'll follow the instructions under Next Steps, which will then further guide them through the course. So very clear directions here, very simple and detailed link here on the left-hand navigation for students. So let's take a look at how the instructor then provides information about themselves, along with their availability, a brief bio, and a picture. While this information may be also contained in the syllabus, it's a nice way and best practice to break that out and include it in your Blackboard environment. Students are navigating through your Blackboard environment weekly, several times throughout the week. And so making things easy for them to access the information, important information, like how to get in touch with you, really makes it a lot easier to navigate. It makes it easier for them to locate the information. And it cuts down on the amount of time that they're spending looking for things, support resources, so that they can really focus more of their time and their energy on the core curriculum. So here, this instructor has created a Meet Contact Your Instructor section. Again, it's located on the left-hand navigation. And it's just a nice picture. So this right here just really humanizes the course experience. It helps put a face to the name. So this is just a really nice touch, creating a very warm, welcoming, and inviting course environment. The instructor provides a nice bio, contact information, email, office hours. In this virtual environment, your office hours might say Zoom, Thursdays from 8 to 5, or whatever the office hours are. They're obviously shorter than that, and it's not an all-day office hour. But if you wanted to do Zoom, Mondays 2 to 6, whatever the office hours are, you can do that here. But this is just to give you an idea of what this can look like in your Blackboard environment. Let's take a look at another example here from another faculty. So very nice picture provided here in the center. Some bio information about the faculties provided here. So now that you've seen these examples here, when we talk about the course overview in the introduction section, just really thinking about how you can add different ways to make the navigation experience a little bit easier, to communicate the clear expectations, and also to quickly and easily provide a section where your students can quickly and easily access your information. Now let's go ahead and go into assessment of student learning. So your course outcomes and objectives are absolutely the foundation to the course, and they really do set the roadmap and connect everything. So your course learning outcomes are at the course level considered to be more broad statements that describe what your students will be able to do at the end of the course. Then what you have is you have module or weekly objectives, and those are specific and concise statements, detailed statements about what your students will be able to do when they complete the module or the week, and should be actionable and measurable. So why are these so important? There are many reasons why these objectives are important. But objectives can really help students understand the lesson purpose. They help them make the connection, and they really do serve as a roadmap for your students. Module or weekly objectives, whichever you use in the course, whether you're following modules or you're following weeks or you're following units, but these should be smaller and more digestible for your students. Understanding of objectives can really help your students take ownership of their learning and definitely focus on the mastery of the stated objectives. So let's take a look here at this course map. So you could map out your course, and you could see this is just one module. So we can say this was week 1, this is module 1, this is unit 1. But you start off with listing your objectives, and we want to make sure that they're actionable and they're measurable, starting all with an action verb. And then we can identify our existing resources. What resources do we have that support the objectives we've listed? What resources do we need? So this kind of helps us then identify areas that we can fill in the gaps. Existing assignments, again, what assignments do we need, if any? And then what assessments do we currently have? And what assessments can we add? And let's take a look at one more example here. And there's not, any particular way, one way of doing it. So you can see these are two different course alignment maps. As long as you're listing out your course objectives and your module objectives and the materials and the assessments and the resources, just for you to be able to see the alignment. So the learning objectives basically form the foundation, and the assessments, the materials, and the course activities provide the basis for alignment. So creating alignment in your course becomes much easier when you have written measurable objectives from the very beginning. So what you want is the assessments, which are going to measure the stated learning objectives. So these assessments here should measure your module objectives. So for every week. And then your instructional materials contribute to the achievement of the stated objectives. And then your activities promote the achievement of the stated learning objectives as well. And then when you've got that written out, just kind of mapped out on a document, it allows you then to be able to build out that alignment in your course environment. So this is a course in Blackboard. You see here, they don't use modules, they don't use weeks, but they use units. And you can see here that each unit is consistently formatted. So that's really important in an online environment. You want to maintain that consistent formatting across your modules, your units, your weeks, to reduce any confusion for your students, and for them to really get used to the layout and the expectations here. So you have Unit 10, you have the topic, and then your objectives are listed here. Unit 9, you have your topic, your class session, and then your unit objectives. And here's one more example. So this one's done a little bit differently. This one says weekly learning activities, and within here they have their course learning objectives or outcomes. Then you see it's followed by module 1. So this would be week 1, module 1. So the first objective says discuss the dimensions of identity in our diverse society. And at the very end, it provides the alignment. So this says it aligns with CLO1. So as a student, I can go up to my course learning objectives or outcomes and I can see CLO1. So what this tells me as a student is that this information that I'm going to be learning in module 1 is going to help me achieve mastery of this objective by the end of the course. So by the end of the course, I'll be able to articulate the conceptual dimensions of diversity and identity. So little by little, I will be getting there. So you see how that mapping works there. Okay, and then to help you, we've got Bloom's taxonomy, which you may be familiar with. There are other taxonomies as well. I typically use Bloom's taxonomy, but you can use any taxonomy that's out there. I keep this in my toolkit. Bloom's taxonomy can be used to establish higher order thinking in students by building up from the lower level cognitive skill. And so the cognitive domain here is broken into 6 levels of objectives. You have the knowledge, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Or in this case, remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. And this is a really nice wheel that I like to use. It helps as a writing aid as well. So you have right here this next level from the center, some verbs, some action verbs to help you write your objectives, and then different ways that these things can be assessed. So this is a really nice handy tool. And then we have number 3, when we look at then our instructional materials and our resources. So this is the variety of materials or material formats that you have chosen to present the course content and enable students to meet the learning objectives. So here are just a few examples that provide students with adequate notice and time to acquire course material. This can be done by using the tool. So this is the announcement tool within Blackboard. You can send out quick announcements to students within Blackboard using the announcement tool. So that's some quick communication. Here's a nice letter that goes out to students. So in this section, when we talk about instructional materials and resources, here you can provide, you can use a variety of tools. You can use a discussion board. You can use assignments. But in presenting the information in a variety of formats and different materials, you can use YouTube videos. You could use different technologies that you might want to incorporate, such as VoiceThread, PlayPosit, GoReact. You can use Zoom. You could use your Zoom meeting room to have a meeting once a week with the class. You can put students in groups and use breakout rooms. So there's a different way, lots of different ways to achieve that. Then we have student interaction and community. So just humor, to interject a little bit of humor here. We have the student that says, online courses are okay, but I miss the days of hiding in the back row with no opinion. So this section really addresses the opportunities students have to interact with the content, with their peers and with the instructor, and how well the course really, the course design really encourages students to become active learners and contribute to the online course community. So at the beginning of the course, the instructor provides an opportunity for students to introduce themselves to develop a sense of community. So here you can see this example. It's just the discussion board tool that's used here. So you have week 1 discussion. Introduce yourself in 1 to 2 paragraphs, your favorite color, your favorite food, and then they would reply to a peer or 2 peers. And this really helps to create that sense of community. It allows the students to interact with one another, to get to know each other. So this is really important in an online environment because, again, they're not in a classroom, they're not in that face-to-face setting. And so we want to make sure that in an online environment, we're creating those opportunities for students to connect with one another, to connect with their peers, to also connect with their instructor and connect with the content. So finding different ways for that. And this is a really nice activity that you could put in the beginning of your course. Here we have another activity, and this is a Voicethread discussion. So this is a student that's providing a video comment, and then you can see all the classmates over here on the left-hand side that can also provide video comments. So again, you know, there are a lot of different tools that you can use, a lot of different ways of achieving this, creating the sense of community and allowing students, or creating these opportunities where students can interact with each other and interact with the content as well as with you as an instructor. So these are just a couple of ways, but there are many other ways that this can be achieved. Then we have the facilitation and instruction, so number 5. And this addresses how well the instructor facilitates the course, communicates with students and engages students to be active learners, and reinforces the development of the sense of community among course participants. So here, the really nice thing, what I really like about this example here is that the instructor here has created weekly introduction videos. At the beginning of each week, there's an introduction video, and then at the end, you can include a wrap-up video that kind of ties everything together. This is a really nice touch to have in the course. So again, it's a weekly introduction video, and then you can have a wrap-up video at the end. This is also a different setup to virtual content delivery. Here you can see that there's a camera facing downward on the paper, which is being projected on the screen. So sometimes, you know, it's just about being creative on how we deliver the content to make sure that, you know, we keep our students engaged, the content is being delivered and our students are remaining interested. You can see that this is a document here. Here's another way that this faculty has delivered their content. They have a camera set up here with a whiteboard, and then that is being delivered through, this could be like a Zoom session. And this is what's being projected. So interjecting any type of activities like this, or even if you were just to pre-record some videos and put them up there, it's nice too, because now you're adding yourself to the course. You have a presence in the course. Your students remain engaged. They get to see you. So they know that you're a part of it. Sometimes with online learners, they can sit back, and if they don't see their instructor, they don't hear much from their instructor, they wonder if there's anybody on the other end. And so this is a nice way to just increase the level of engagement a little bit more and to really draw your students in. I know that some of these techniques are a little bit difficult, but you could do some simple things like a pre-recorded lesson using Zoom and posting it up there if you wanted to do an intro video or wrap-up video. Or let's just say that you're going through module 1 or week 1, and there's something in there that maybe it's a concept that's a little bit difficult or complicated. You could just do a quick 1-minute video or 2-minute video, just elaborating on that a little bit and really helping your students through that. You send an announcement, let them know that you're posting a video to the module 1 to give them a little extra help with some of the information. And I promise you that students really do appreciate those types of things when they're added to the course. Here's just another way that this faculty has done some of this stuff and projecting it virtually. So those are just some different setups. Now, when we talk about technology, number 6, if you take a look at your course just to see what kind of technology is being utilized, you want to make sure that the technology that's being used is effectively delivering the course content, it's engaging students in learning, and allows students to express themselves or demonstrate learning. And so here, also you want to make sure that the technologies that you're using do support the learning objectives that you have. Here you can see this instructor is using or taking advantage of a tool here. This is the light board. So this faculty, where in their face-to-face class would use the whiteboard in the classroom, these are just all pre-recorded videos with what we call a light board. It's a board made of glass, and she's just, she's lecturing, she's writing on the board, and it's all being captured in a video, and she's able to post these in her online class. And then here you have a play pause it video with integrated assessment. So this is a really nice tool as well. So the students watch a video, it can stop at certain points and ask students questions, and then they can submit their answer. And this just helps to keep them engaged, helps them retain the information. So this is a nice tool. This is Play Pause It here. And then again, you can use your Zoom room. You can add a link on the left-hand navigation panel to integrate your Zoom room, whether you use that for office hours or you use that once a week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks for a class meeting or group discussion. You can add that there. And you can see that this is a synchronous class, a Zoom class meeting. Nice, and it looks like you've used PlayPosit before and it worked out great for you. So that's really, really good. I'm glad to hear that. And you know, there's so many other tools, but when you find something that you like and you find something that works for you and it really helps create a higher level of engagement for your students, especially in a virtual environment, and it really does support the learning objectives and outcomes, you know, then stick with it. And then if you want to learn something new and try that out, but sometimes, you know, you can determine for yourself, because sometimes I think that, you know, when you learn something and you're comfortable with it and it works, and, you know, sometimes you just want to keep it simple. And sometimes you want to interject a variety of other technologies in addition to what you're already using. And so, you know your course best, you know your students best. And so there are so many technologies out there, so many that you can actually become really overwhelmed with. So if you have something that works, and then if you have something that, or you see that there's a need somewhere in your course or something that can be adjusted or improved, you know, maybe there's a technology out there that can help you make that adjustment or solve whatever challenge you have. Or you can probably leverage one of the technologies you're already using for one purpose and use it for the purpose of the challenge that you might be having. So it just really depends. You know, you're going to know your course best when you sit down and really take a look at all these things and make your own assessment. But yeah, there's a lot of technologies out there. So it's great that you're using PlayPosit. Learner support and resources. Here you really want to address the resources that are available to the students, and you don't want to address them, but you want to provide those for them in the online environment. So you want to give them the resources and support that they need, because students in an online environment have access to the course 24/7. You're not plugged into the course 24/7, but sometimes they have this expectation. And so that's why, you know, the expectations up front are really important. But this gives them a little bit of that peace of mind that even if they are working at midnight or 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, that they have some level of support in case something happens. So they're not panicking. And so, you know, just putting these resources in the course, system requirements is super helpful. Creating an area, again, this goes back to what I had mentioned earlier, that even though these things might be in your syllabus, it makes it so much easier to create a section in your Blackboard environment so that students can quickly access the information. So when you have these descriptive navigational links on the left-hand navigation menu, as a student, if I'm faced with a challenge, let's just say I'm taking a quiz and it froze. Instead of downloading the syllabus and trying to find where in that syllabus the technical support page may be, I just have a quick link here on the left-hand side that I can click on and get that information and make a phone call, because I might be in panic mode. And so it's going to make me panic even more if now I have to download a document. And sometimes, you know, people, when they're panicking, they're kind of rushing through it, scrolling through it really quickly, and they might even overlook the information and not see it. And then that's when emails start getting generated to you as a faculty. And so, you know, just making it easy for them and pulling this stuff out and putting it in the Blackboard environment just makes it so much more easier. And then giving them other types of resources, so not just the technical support, but the resources that are available to them as students, the free software. So they have access to Adobe Creative Cloud as students. They have Microsoft products. They have so many other different tools and applications that are available to them as a student that could definitely make their learning process as a student, it could just make things so much easier for them. So let's just say I need to do something and create an image in your course. I can do that in a Word document if I have Word, but if I'm familiar with maybe Photoshop and I knew that this was available to me as a student, I can get that done, you know, fairly quickly because I'm familiar with Photoshop. I know how to navigate through that, and I can create, you know, higher quality work that I can submit that I as a student would be very proud of. So sometimes, you know, these resources are extremely helpful for students, and I know that they appreciate these quite a bit. So giving them that kind of information is really, really helpful. Now, when we take a look at Section 8, this basically has to do with accessibility and universal design principles that are critical to learners and benefit all learners. So right here you have, again, in the Blackboard environment, even though this can be in the syllabus, we want to make it easier for our students by creating the accessibility information on the left-hand navigation. We can create a descriptive link and provide them with information on how to get in touch with the Accessibility Office and for accommodations. And then in Blackboard Ally, if you were to turn on Blackboard Ally, it provides alternative formats. So you can see how that's done here. Super neat tool with Blackboard Ally. But with this, you also want to think about all your learners, right? So as an adult learner, I, for one, when I was taking my fully online program, I would be in a noisy environment, and during my lunch break would want to listen to some of the videos in my weekly activities. And so I wasn't always able to do that in my office. So I would pull up the video or audio transcript, and then that way I can just read it. And so you want to think about, you know, making sure that your course material is accessible, but also that it's critical to and beneficial to all learners. So making sure that when designing, you're designing with accessibility and how that's going to benefit all your learners. So designing with that in mind is really helpful. And then right here is giving students the opportunity. So number 9 is taking a look at your course and seeing if you give your students the opportunity to summarize their learning and establish the connection between this course and maybe other courses that they've taken, and gets them to really prepare to start the next phase of their program or their course, their academic career. So here the instructor provides students opportunity to ask questions as a form of closure, and it really to foster insight into an accomplishment here. So this right here, you use the assignment, it's just called a reflective journal. You have the learning objective, the instructions, it's just a personal reflection. And there's different ways of doing that. This right here is using the assignments. There is a journal feature. You could also use the discussion if you wanted to. So different ways of doing this, but giving students the opportunity to really, you know, summarize their work, reflect or summarize the learning and really reflect on their learning is really important. So you can do that at the end of every module. You can do that at the end of every couple modules. But this is definitely very helpful and beneficial for students to really sit and think about and reflect on the course content and their learning process there. So now we've reached the end. So here at the end of this, I want to talk about quickly a course improvement plan. So earlier in the webinar, I showed you a course map that had the module objectives, existing resources. So this is just a blank course map here. But when you're thinking about your course improvement plan and thinking about what, out of all this information, what would be most helpful, or what can I start with, or what do I already have, or what don't I have, and start thinking about different ways and different things that can improve the course, whether it's increasing level of engagement, communication, those, you know, a sense of community, so different kinds of things. You may want to start with the course improvement plan. What you can also do is you can use the COLT rubric yourself if you wanted to. So if you go to the CSU COLT course review instrument, and I'm going to send this through the chat really quickly here. So you have that link. But if you go there, you can then take a look at your course section by section. So all those areas that we talked about today, you can actually do a little bit more of a deeper dive into each section with much more detail. You can see all the different objectives that are covered in this first section here. And you can go through it and see if your course actually has these standards. And if you see something that's missing, you may say, you know, it's something that I want to include or something that I don't want to include. But this allows you to basically just take a look at and evaluate your own course and determine what you'd like to adjust or what you're missing that you may want to add or not. And then the other thing is, if you go up here to resources, on the top right-hand side, there's a QA resource repository. So this is really neat because if you click here, let's see if it takes me here. So you click here, you have to do another click to this link down here at the bottom of the page. And you'll see here that this is a resource repository. So this is a collection of just a few examples of courses and how they've actually added content for these different sections. So if you go browse by quality standard, we can go to introduction. And you can see here 1.1, starting the course. So you can see a lot of different ways that faculty have provided in their course self-introductions. So you can take a look at these different examples here and really get a lot of great ideas. Here we have a 1.2 instructor information. So you just use this arrow down here to expand and collapse. So right here, 1.2 instructor information, you can see again a few examples here. So you can go through these, and this is an amazing resource that will definitely get you thinking and get you thinking about different ways that you can put some of these things in your course. So let's go ahead and go back here. And finally, this is just something that I have up here. You may or may not want to use it. It's a resource management plan. So if you were going to create some videos or create some resources, this is just to kind of plan out how long it would take, what technologies you might need, if you need the help of certain individuals, colleagues, other people on campus, estimated time when you're going to start it. So this is just really to help you just plan it out. But these are really great resources here that I would definitely recommend as a course improvement plan, and especially this COLT rubric link here that I showed you. So this is basically everything that I have for you today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.